1, 2, 3, 4. Those are numbers. But you already knew that. If you want to know what number you're going to pay each month for your car, use Kelly Blue Book My Wallet on Auto Trader. They're really good at numbers. Auto Trader.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
Hiring shouldn't be a hassle or a drain on your budget. Upwork is your one-stop shop to find, hire, and pay top freelance talent, saving you time and keeping costs in check, all in one place. Do you know the secret to businesses that are scaling faster than ever? They're using Upwork to tap into a diverse pool of skilled freelancers across various industries. With more than 2 decades of experience, with a simple and ambitious goal, to pioneer a better way of working. Posting a job on Upwork is easy. No cost to join. You can register, browse freelancer profiles, get help drafting a post, or even book a consultation. From there, you connect with freelancers that get you and can easily hire them to take your business to the next level. Upwork makes the entire process easier, simpler, and more affordable with industry-low fees. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's Upwork.com to post your job for free and connect with the top talent ready to help your business grow. That's UPWORK.com. Upwork.com.
Welcome to Orioles on the Verge. This is Zach Spedden, joined as always by Bob Phelan and Nick Stevens. And on tonight's show, we're going to get into part 1 of our mailbag. That's right, over the course of 2 episodes this week, we're going to take questions from our listeners about all things Orioles. And in this episode, we're going to cover a lot of ground, going from the major leagues down to the minor leagues, talking about some very timely topics. But before we get into that, as we like to do at the top of every show, we want to welcome some new members to our Patreon community. And for that, I will turn it over to Bob.
Yeah, we're grateful this week to have 3 new Patreon members. Michael Thompson hopped in at the AAA level, paid for the full year up front. Amazing. Thank you, Michael. Hope you enjoyed the show and the content. Leon Beal, he signed up for the free trial, and he'll be heading to Double A in a few days here. And then Abraham Terry signed up. Again, shout out to our friends Garrett, Sarah, Devin, Cicero. I don't want to leave anyone out. Andrew signed up at the single A level. He's going to go join Braylon Tavera and hope to break out there. So thank you guys. As always, appreciate it.
We always appreciate our Patreon members' support. And as a reminder, this week we'll be dropping our top 50 prospects update for the month of May. So if you are a member of our Patreon community, you have that to look forward to. And if you're not a member yet, consider signing up today to become a member so you have access to that show and so much more bonus content from us here at Orioles on the Verge. I will dive right in now to the mailbag with the first question. I think it's a question that everybody really wants the answer to, and it comes from Maroon Bird Win. If you could choose one player on the Orioles to close 100 times and take on one gorilla in order to try to win, which player would it be? Now, this is active players. I can't pick retired players, so I'll start with Nick.
We're already at this point in the season, huh? So I think a lot of people want to point to the biggest, strongest players on the roster. But give me the good old country boy. Give me Keegan Aiken. I think Keegan Aiken can do it blindfolded. I want country boy instinct. He's going to take him down. The answer is Keegan Aiken.
I was thinking about going 2 different ways on this. The one's a little obvious. Tyler O'Neill. I mean, he is very fragile, but he's strong, big. You know, you're going to lose a lot of them, but you might be able to win in the end. Or you go the speed option, Jorge Mateo, hopefully tire him out. Take him, little hits here and there might take a while, but you could win, or win, you lose, and he's off the roster.
The most obvious answer is Felix Bautista. So I would probably go that, but the more entertaining pick for me is actually Yennier Cano, because 1, Cano is going to win, and 2, can you imagine 100 Yennier Canos doing the stare after they take down the gorilla. And I'll just throw this out there too. If Ben McDonald did it, that story on the broadcast would be hilarious.
From gators to gorillas.
You wouldn't need 100 Ben McDonald's. You just need one. That's it. Next question. Bird is the word. He wants to ask yet again, because no one is answering this question and no one is acting on this question. Why is Jorge Mateo still on the team? Because he hasn't fought a gorilla yet. And why does Jackson Holliday not play every day, Zach?
I can't sit here and logically justify why Mateo is still on the roster and why Holliday doesn't play every day. I'll take the Holliday part first. In every facet of the game, Jackson Holliday is getting better, despite what I still feel like is too few reps over the course of a week. They need to stop treating him like a platoon player and play him every day. I want him out there against tough lefties. That's the only way he's going to get better. I can see the projection now, the trajectory, I should say, with Holliday. And it's easy coming off of Sunday's game to kind of have a high around Jackson Holliday. But we had a mailbag a few weeks ago where someone asked us, could Holliday be leading off by some point this season? I think we're trending in that direction, and I think we're going to be better off for it when it happens. And the best way to start pushing him that direction is to challenge him more. Putting him out there against right-handed pitching only a few days a week no longer does that. Last year it did. This year it's not doing it. He's gotten so much better. So start playing him against the lefties and start pushing towards having him as a leadoff hitter. As for Mateo, again, I just don't understand it at this point because his value is his speed and his versatility. And right now you don't really have a use for either one, and you desperately need help with your offense, and he's not giving it to you. So the only thing I could think to this point, if you want Mateo off the roster, root for Kobe Mayo to perform really well during this call-up and hope that Jordan Westberg or Ramon Arias come off the IL soon, because that's probably the fastest way to get Mateo out of here. Otherwise, I think he's going to be around for a while.
Yeah, Jorge Mateo. I think it's on Mike Elias, the fact that he's on the roster, but it's on Brandon Hyde for the way he's used. And to be fair, he hasn't been playing as much lately. But I agree, Holliday should be playing every day at second base at this point. Shout out to Dan Sanchez on Blue Sky, who says basically outside of a 5-game hitless skid in early April, Jackson Holliday has been out of this world. He's got a 205 WRC plus in his last 8 games. His last 15 games, he's got a 196 WRC plus. He's getting on base more. His chase rate is really low. He's not chasing pitches, but his walk rate's only 7%. That's because they're giving him pitches to hit, but his strikeout rate is down 11% from last year. So I think as long as he continues to hit like this, the walk rate's going to go right up. With that, he's showing power, had 2 home runs in the game on Sunday. Yeah, he should be playing every day. He's 21. He's 21 all season. He just turned 21 in December, and he's already doing this while looking better and better defensively at second base, in my opinion. Mateo's not even getting pinch running duties like he has or should be in the past. I feel like Dylan Carlson has been pinch running more often than Mateo at this point, so I really have no idea why he's here. Hopefully, like Zach said, Mayo just is finally going to get a real chance, consistent at bats, to show what he can do. And there was a great article in Baseball America today showing how Mayo is closing holes in his game while he was down in AAA to start this season as well. Westberg gets back, Arias gets back, Mateo's got to go. I would personally have Luis Vasquez or even Levon Soto up before I had Mateo up, but it is what it is. But yeah, Jackson Holliday breakout is real, and it's happening right in front of our eyes during a losing season, unfortunately.
Yeah, you guys answer that one. I just don't get why you gave Jackson Holliday an $8.19 million signing bonus, the highest bonus given to a high school player, and you have treated him as this platoon prospect up to this point. And I get, like, if you want to, sit him against a Tariq Skubal or Garrett Crochet, fine. I can understand that. But like Andrew Abbott, like who's sitting in the box fearful of Andrew Abbott, like throwing 90 miles per hour? I don't get it. I also just don't understand like how, I know we've talked a lot in the past about when the prospects come up and they don't get that regular run, they're sitting on the bench, and because there's a lot of discussion about the Orioles still feel like they can get valuable work in, sitting on the bench, getting their working in the cage and stuff. But like, how does watching this kid come in, have a nice game, and then benching him because you're facing some crappy lefty help him? That I don't understand. But it is what it is. I do agree with Zach's point though. If the breakout is real and he is trending towards being, a leadoff hitter and more potent everyday hitter in this lineup, then fantastic. And it's a moot point. But yeah, it's been frustrating early on this year.
Next question is going to come from not that Kevin Brown. Are you surprised by Kyle Stowers' success in Miami? This has become a big talking point on Orioles Twitter as he hit a game-winning grand slam off of Mason Miller in a 2-home run game, and he has looked really good so far this season, the first month of the season for the Marlins. Nick, what do you think?
Yes, and I hope it's for real. And I will admit I'm wrong. If it's for real, I hope he has a fantastic career. And if Trevor Rogers never becomes a contributor, so be it. You win some trades, you lose a bunch of trades. Kyle Stowers, Connor Norby, go be great. Go become the face of the Marlins for all. Like, have fantastic careers. Close the book on them. They're out. They're done. They're not Orioles.
In a vacuum, I'm not surprised because I've always thought that Stowers is one of those players who, if he got the runtime in the major leagues that he was not getting with the Orioles, the highs were going to be really high. And so far, the highs have been incredibly high for him over the first month of the season. If there's anything that I could pick out that surprises me, is that the strikeout to walk numbers aren't horrible by his standard. Strikeout rate of 27% is a little high, but when you consider that it was pretty consistently in the 30s in the major leagues with the Orioles, and that he always had high 20% strikeout rates, at least in the minors, it's not that bad, and he's walking almost 10% of the time. So that's a real positive that I probably didn't see coming, but otherwise, everything I've seen from Stowers so far this year is the kind of player that I thought he could be when he was hot, which is someone who makes an impact with his bat, someone who has power to all fields and can turn on a high fastball like he did in that walk-off grand slam. So to put it this way, I would be equally unsurprised if Stowers goes on a tear this year, represents the Marlins in the All-Star game, as I would be if he gets cold by the end of May and his year-end numbers look nothing like this.
Yeah, exactly. He's a streaky hitter. First of all, yeah, like Nick said, I love Kyle Stowers, loved Connor Norby, loved following their minor league careers as they were coming up. So, of course, I'm rooting for them, and I hope Kyle Stowers continues. I'll just say his stats right now. After an 0 for 5 today with the walk, he's got a 310 batting average. What is this quick math? A 902 OPS, 147 WRC plus, 10.1% walk rate, 27.1% strikeout rate, and a 212 ISO. But he's also got a 392 batting average for balls in play. So that's going to come down. But hey, if he can strike out 27% of the time and walk 10% of the time with the way he impacts the ball, I think he's a fringe major league starter in a corner outfield position. There's nothing to sneeze at there. We've seen the strikeout rate be a bigger issue than that. It was 35% last year, 36% the year before that, and just under 30% the year before that. The walk rate's never been this high. So, yeah, if he can keep that up, even if the BABIP comes down, he'll be a pretty solid player. But I'm just happy he's having a major league career. He's got to do it on a bad team, unfortunately. But, yeah, more power to him.
Go now this question from Vivek. Shifting to the farm system here, who would be your Orioles minor league pitcher of the year and positional player of the year at this point in the season? Feel free to give a top three. I'll start with Bob on this one.
The pitcher's got to be Braxton Bragg. I mean, we've been talking about him all year. From the first time we saw him throwing mid to high 90s with his fastball, it was like, whoa, what the hell? Where did that come from? And then changeup is new, looks pretty damn good, and he's just been more and more impressive every time out. So I'll give him the nod. At number one, I would have said Alex Pham was up there in the top three before his injury. Hopefully it's not too serious. Who else would be up there? I'm just trying to do some quick memory, I would say Levi Wells will round out my top three. And then position player side, for me, it's got to be Dylan Beavers. It's got to be Dylan Beavers for me, especially if you take out the first series and a half, his numbers are just mind-blowingly good. So I think it's between him and Kobe Mayo, who's obviously now up in the major leagues for position player. So Mayo's not going to end up getting it because hopefully he won't be a prospect anymore. And third, Creed Willems. What a great start to the season. So that would round out my top three there.
No argument there. I think it's clear top two. It's Beavers and Bragg. We're only a month into the year, so a lot can change. But right now, yeah, it's Beavers and Bragg. And you could say Creed Willems is in the conversation there as far as hitters, but I don't think anyone's even close on the pitching side. And that's not an indictment on how pitchers are performing. That's just a testament to how unbelievably fantastic Braxton Bragg has been this year, which we'll dive into more, I'm sure, in our top 50 update.
Yeah, without a doubt, it's Bragg on the pitching side. And I would probably agree with Bob that you'd have Levi Wells second. I do think that you have a couple of pitchers who right now maybe don't have the back of the baseball card stats. They're going to be in this conversation by the end of the year. Cameron Weston, Trey Gibson are two guys that come to mind that I think are going to get a lot better. My third, though, would probably be Nestor Herman. He has put together a very nice season at Aberdeen. I think he's going to get promoted to Chesapeake soon. And then for hitters, it's Beavers, number one. I don't think anybody comes close. For all the reasons that Bob just mentioned, that Mayo probably and hopefully won't really be in consideration for this award at the end of the year, I will take him off the list, and I'll put Creed Willems at number two. Number three for me was a coin toss between Aaron Estrada and Ethan Anderson. I'll take Ethan Anderson for now because of the power, but both players have been very good so far.
And Judd Fabian, shout out to Judd Fabian, who's got that classic 200 batting average, 300 plus on base, 400 plus slugging percentage.
And the way these FCL Orioles are starting off their year, might have some of them join the conversation. But
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Because Progressive offers discounts for paying in full, owning a home, and more. Plus, you can count on their great customer service to help you when you need it, so your dollar goes a long way. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save on car insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations.
Hiring shouldn't be a hassle or a drain on your budget. Upwork is your one-stop shop to find, hire, and pay top freelance talent, saving you time and keeping costs in check, all in one place. Do you know the secret to businesses that are scaling faster than ever? They're using Upwork to tap into a diverse pool of skilled freelancers across various industries. With more than 2 decades of experience, with a simple and ambitious goal, to pioneer a better way of working. Posting a job on Upwork is easy. No cost to join. You can register, browse freelancer profiles, get help drafting a post, or even book a consultation. From there, you connect with freelancers that get you and can easily hire them to take your business to the next level. Upwork makes the entire process easier, simpler, and more affordable with industry-low fees. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's Upwork.com to post your job for free and connect with the top talent ready to help your business grow. That's UPWORK.com. Upwork.com.
O'Reilly! Check engine, ABS, or maintenance light on? Take the guesswork out of your warning lights with O'Reilly Veriscan. The service is free and provides a report with solutions verified by ASE certified master technicians. And if you need help, we could recommend a shop for you. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
no. Next question here comes from John Bodwright. What is the cause of the Orioles' poor runners in scoring position hitting, and how can it be fixed ASAP? I can give my answer real quick and just say if I knew the answer, I'd be a Major League hitting coach and be working with Major League hitters and not working with MBA students right now like I do. I don't know. What do you guys have any thoughts about that?
Really, it just comes down to your best hitters have to start hitting. I know that runners in scoring position is brought up a lot in broadcasts, and it is important. I'm not going to try to diminish its importance because clearly you have to be able to get those runs across. But let's think about who's coming up in those situations right now, and who do you want up in those situations? Because Ryan Mountcastle is not the guy you want up with runner on second and one out. It's probably limited at this point to Ryan O'Hearn, Cedric Mullins, and Jackson Holliday, if Holliday's even in the lineup. Gunnar seems to be slowly coming into his own, but isn't quite back yet. Adley has been really up and down. Tyler O'Neill is hurt. Heston Kjerstad has been incredibly streaky. So I would just argue that across the board, the Orioles offense needs to get better. And at that point, the problem with runners in scoring position will take care of itself. There are some things philosophically that you could look at with the Orioles offensive approach and question, whether they need to be fine-tuned. Do they need to be more aggressive early in the count? I know that's something that comes up a lot with the Orioles. Are they too reliant on the home run? That's been a debate that we've been having, or that has been happening in some parts of Birdland now for at least a year. All of those things are fair to question, but for me, the bottom line is just that your hitters, and especially the hitters that you're counting on to produce and win games for you, have to get better.
Yeah, if we knew the answer to this, we'd be one of those podcasters getting hired by major league teams, like Mike Petriello tweeted about earlier today. Yeah, I would love to know what our BABIP is in those situations, because it seems like a lot of it is just plumb bad luck. But obviously, that's not what anybody wants to hear, and that's not an excuse we want to say. But yeah, you gotta get those timely hits, and in 2023 we got them. And ever since, we haven't. So hopefully that tide turns sometime soon. Let me go ahead and ask the next question from Bobby Jones, who would like to know, if the season spirals, please know, who are some arms around the league you target in a trade? He's looking at Jackson Ferris, for example. Who's someone we trade that has more than just 1 year left? What do you think, Nick?
I don't know who's available. It's May 5th. I'm not looking at the trade deadline right now. I got nothing.
I haven't thought that far ahead either, so I haven't really started to dive into other teams' farm systems to consider who the Orioles might target if they were going to sell, although I will say Jackson Ferris is a great starting point. As for players that they could move that have more than a year of control, I'd have to imagine that some relievers outside of Felix Bautista could be in play in that conversation. I don't see him going regardless, but if let's say that they got a really good offer for Yennier Cano, or they got a really good offer for Keegan Aiken, would they turn it down knowing that the last 2 months of the season are lost? Probably not. So I would start there if you're going to look at players that are under control beyond next season or beyond this season. But I don't expect it to be any really big names or really any long-term building blocks.
Yeah, Bobby, I understand the spiral, but there's no way to know which guys are going to target. I'm going to guess the Orioles would target guys that wouldn't be the first ones to come to your mind, but when you dig into them, it's like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense if that were to come to pass. And as far as guys we could trade that have multiple years, I'd still say that. And again, even if we sell this season, it's not like we're selling for the long term. You'd still be trying to reload, as we talked about last week. But maybe Heston Kjerstad could be a guy if another team thinks they can Kyle Stowers him up. Obviously, he hasn't performed incredibly well so far today, but maybe he's a guy that could be dealt Mountcastle if he could regain some value before the trade deadline. No one else positionally is really standing out to me, but yeah, you'd have to look in the bullpen. Maybe a guy like Keegan Aiken, because he'll be out of options next year. It's tough. Yeah, Yennier Cano, I would be hesitant to give up on just because I don't know. I think he's still very cheap and under control. I'd still think he's a guy you want in there. Dean Kramer, does he have value to anybody that would like an arm for this year and the next two afterwards? Maybe that's an option as well, but let's hope we don't have to go down this path.
I'm going to go now to this question from Sterling, and I think it kind of builds into what Bobby was asking us. What is the pod's deadline if we have to call this a, quote, lost season and start thinking, unfortunately, about selling? So in other words, at what point in the year, if the Orioles haven't turned things around, are you really going to start thinking about who they could sell at the deadline?
Same as said last week, I think, end of the month. But it's not going to be like a fire sale. You're not getting rid of everybody. The window's not shut. It's just a really crappy year, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, I'm mostly out already, to be honest. But I give it till the end of the month before I'm like, it's done. You can go ahead and back it up.
Yeah, we don't need to like put in a whole new HVAC unit. We just need to get someone out here to fix it so we can use it at some point. Next, I don't know if this analogy makes sense, but I just had to get some work done on my HVAC, so I'm going there. But yeah, I think if after the White Sox series, which I think it either ends at the very end of May or the very beginning of June, if we're not at least 500, maybe not even 500, if we're not very close to 500 at that point, pack it in. If we're still almost 5, 6, 7, 10 games under 500, yeah, it's the season's a waste, and you just have to gear up for 2026. But yeah, it's not looking great right now. But like we talked about last week with the Houston Astros on May 11th, they were 11 games under 500 or something like that. So it's not impossible as much as it looks right now to come back, especially with the schedule in May. But the week schedule at least gives the Orioles a chance to try to climb back into it, get healthy, and then see what happens from there.
That's about my deadline too. And I will say that I think this upcoming road trip is going to be tough. I think the Twins series is going to be tough. And for whatever reason, I feel like in the past, the Orioles have sometimes underperformed in Anaheim. I don't know that the numbers exactly back that up, but I don't always have a good feeling when they go to the West Coast. So I'm not looking for an immediate turnaround. But at the same time, though, when you look at their schedule for the month, there are a lot of opportunities ending, of course, that White Sox series where they really could beat up on some of these teams. So that's kind of my gauge too, is end of May, if they're not at least emerging from this slump and within a few games of 500, I'll probably write this season off.
Some more trades from Callie wants to know what would be the most heartbreaking but beneficial trade we can make to get us back in it this year and set us up for the future. What do you guys think?
I literally think there is no one trade that could turn this thing around. It's too dependent on the guys that we have. The core needs to hit. Like the hitters need to hit. We need to score runs. Obviously, we know the pitching staff situation. So, yeah, it wouldn't hurt to get somebody. But at this point, it's much more than just replacing a Kyle Gibson or a Charlie Morton on the pitching staff. But that said, I would still be fine. Like Sandy Alcantara has been terrible so far this year, but his stuff still looks good. It's mostly location, and we know that can take some time after Tommy John to come back. I would not be opposed to still trying to trade for him, especially now if his value is down a little bit with the way he started the season. Maybe Heston Kjerstad could headline a trade for Sandy, or maybe you go to Tampa Bay and try to pitch them on Kjerstad for Shane Baz or who knows, whatever. I would still be down to trade for a pitcher that has multiple years of team control after this season. But yeah, I don't think there's like, oh, if we trade for, I don't even know, Shohei Ohtani. I don't even know if that one player, even Shohei Ohtani, I don't think would fix the problems. It's all internal at this point that needs to be turned around here.
Yeah, I'm with Bob on this one. If some of the issues we've talked about tonight, and the big one being that your core is not hitting, don't resolve themselves by the All-Star break, there's not going to be one trade that comes in and fixes everything. To Callie's question, though, what I suspect he might be getting at is, and I know this is something we're going to talk about either in this mailbag or in our one later this week, is there a prospect that I think we'd have a tough time parting with for the right trade? Maybe. But right now, my mind is so far removed from saying, having to trade Kobe Mayo or Vance Honeycutt to get Enrique Bradfield Jr., or not Enrique Bradfield Jr., to get Pablo Lopez from the Twins, that I'm not even really thinking about, because it's going to take more than one deal right now if the Orioles go that route to turn it around.
Yeah, especially if we are going to have to reboot. Like, I'm just not trading Kobe Mayo or Samuel Basayo at this point. Honestly, I'm probably not trading Bradfield either. I'm not trading Dylan Beavers right now. I mean, if we're going to have to reboot, we're going to need these guys. So just in case, and even if not, they're just really good prospects anyway. But maybe Honeycutt would be like the tip top value I would be willing to trade right now in the right deal. But it would still have to be a long term move as well.
And I mean, if you do need to make a trade, though, like you have a prime opportunity in this year's draft to reload a lot. And so that's why I do think it's just a matter of like to build on those thoughts. Like, let's see more aggressive promotions down in the minor leagues to set these guys up. Like, let's get some more of these guys into the big leagues. If Beavers is going to keep doing this, get them to the big leagues sooner rather than later. And let's just see. It's why, yeah, it's not one magical trade that's going to fix all of this. And exactly why, again, it's not, even if this season ends up being a complete wash and we realize that in a month, then it's not a rebuild. It's the reboot, as Bob has been putting it. I have deeper, more thoughts on this and other stuff. Some other questions we'll answer, but I will save those for those questions later on.
Yeah, it's like, I just wish the Orioles were being a little more proactive. Even just, hey, Heston Kjerstad, you're not getting it done right now. We're going to demote you. We're going to give Dylan Beavers a chance for a couple weeks, see if he could spark something. Ryan Mountcastle, you're absolutely brutal to watch right now. First baseman with a 200 batting average and a 500 OPS. Send you down to AAA and try to figure things out. Give Kobe Mayo a shot every day at first base. Do something. I don't know. Anyway, let's move on to Ben H's question, who says he would never take the job if he had to work for Elias, but try to tell me why Buck Showalter wouldn't be the right manager for this team right now. Zach?
So two schools of thought on this. And one is Buck's track record, which is that he can come into a place and he can get a team that is underperforming to play. So that would make him a very appealing option right now, especially because you do have some younger players that could respond to him. The problem that we have seen throughout Showalter's career as a manager has been that there tends to be a waning period at the end. The teams don't play as well. I don't hold the Yankees in 95 against Showalter, but you look at the Diamondbacks, you look at the Rangers, you look at the Orioles, you look at the Mets to a little bit lesser extent, and that's kind of what happened. They had a surge in production with him as a manager. Things were going in the right direction, and then they waned. And in the case of the Diamondbacks, they won the World Series the following year. I don't think it's because Bob Brenly was a genius as a manager, but that was a lot of what Showalter had put together. And in the end, he was not the guy who got to see that through. Ron Washington took the Rangers higher than Buck Showalter ever did. So it really does come down to, do you want the next manager to be a long-term option? Because if you do, Buck's track record suggests that he's probably not that guy. And then the other one is autonomy. And I think that's what Ben H is alluding to in not wanting to work for Elias. Showalter is going to want to come in. He's going to want to bring his own coaches. He seems like a guy that's pretty hands-on in the area of baseball operations. He has a player development background, so he's going to have opinions about these things. And if he doesn't feel like those opinions are being heard, he's going to be upset pretty quickly. So it would be those two things would be why I don't think he would be right for the job.
Sounds good to me.
I think Zach said it very well. Honestly, I think Buck Britton is the right man for this job right now. I'm totally out on Brandon Hyde right now at this point. Sunday's game against the Kansas City Royals did it for me. When you're down by 2, you have Gregory Soto warming up. It's the 8th inning. It's a close game. The lineup's actually hitting for once. And you sit Soto down and bring in Charlie Morton, who inevitably gives up 3 runs and the game is out of reach again. Like, why are you waving the white flag in a close game in the 8th inning when your team is hitting and the season is slipping away from your fingers? That is just absolutely pathetic, in my opinion. It's not the first time this season that he's done it. There was a close and late game where he brought in Ciano Perez, who had been terrible late in a game, and then, of course, it got handed away from him. I don't know. I mean, look, I like Brandon Hyde, and I'm sure it's frustrating where it's like it doesn't seem like anything I do is working, but that was just unforgivable sin, in my personal opinion. So basically, I'll take anybody at this point. I think at a certain point, the message just gets stale after a certain amount of time, unless you're like Terry Francona or a guy who's just next level. I just think at a certain point, a new voice in the room is just what the doctor ordered.
NetCredit is here to say yes to a personal loan or line of credit when other lenders say no. Apply in minutes and get a decision as soon as the same day. If approved, applications are typically funded the next business day or sooner. Loans offered by NetCredit or lending partner banks and serviced by NetCredit. Application subject to review and approval. Learn more at netcredit.com/partner. NetCredit. Credit to the people.
At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Ranked #1 in innovation for 10 consecutive years and #2 among public universities for employability. ASU isn't just ahead of the curve, it's creating new paths to success. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online, that's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Go now to this question from the Bird is a Word, going back to him. Do you think Kobe Mayo finally starts to get in the groove? I'll start with Nick here.
I mean, we've highlighted all the positives that he's done, all the changes that he's made, all the deep analytical articles that have been written and highlighted everything. There's nothing left for him to learn or do or prove in AAA. It's up to him at this point to make that transition to the big leagues. I honestly don't know. Nobody knows. But he's done everything he can in the minor leagues, and at this point, I feel like it's maybe not entirely sink or swim, but it is entirely up to him at this point if he can start hitting. And like I said, he was, even at the very beginning of the year when the numbers were terrible, as we mentioned a couple of times, he was actually playing extremely well down in AAA, and nothing. The demotion at the end of spring training didn't faze him. The poor batted ball luck didn't faze him. He stuck through. So now let's see if this move back up in a second shot. Let's see if the struggles here in this first couple of games don't faze him and he can settle in and find a groove. But that would also require him to get regular playing time, and I don't trust that he's going to get that. So TBD.
Exactly. To me, it's going to come down to, is he getting every day or at least close to everyday at bats where he can try to get into a groove? Because yeah, if that happens, I am pretty confident that he's going to start to put it together and be the player we know he can be. But it's just going to take, like, if he's just here until Westberg gets back sometime early next week, or maybe, who knows, sometime soon, then I don't even know what the point of bringing him up was, to be honest with you, because he needs consistent playing time and he needs some confidence. I think it's just going to take his first home run. That'll probably take the weight off his shoulders, and he'll just be able to let loose. And like we talked about earlier, like, he's not swinging at pitches out of the zone as much this year. He's making more contact in the zone. When he makes contact, it's incredibly good contact. He crosses every check mark. It's just got to start to happen in Major League Baseball games. And I thought he looked pretty good so far in the 2 games he's played in. He worked a nice walk. He was able to hang in there against a guy throwing upper 90s, touching 100. Unfortunately popped out, but I mean, he's not. I can already tell he's a little more comfortable at the plate this year. So hopefully that just continues. And yeah, I think he could break out soon.
Yeah, I would agree. I actually thought that he took a couple of nice trips to the plate in Sunday's finale against Kansas City. Do I think a breakout could happen? Yes. But as Nick said, I think a lot of that is going to be on him to figure it out at the major league level. And it just comes down to reps too. If he doesn't get the reps, it's not going to go anywhere. And I'll admit, I was preparing for this show and I look ahead at the probables for the series against Minnesota. The Orioles are facing 3 righties in a row. So now I don't have much hope that we're going to see much of Mayo this week. I hope I'm wrong and he gets at least 1 or 2 starts against the Twins. But with the way that Brandon Hyde tends to use players when they come up in these platoon situations, I don't know that we're going to see a whole lot of them. And hopefully, with whatever time he gets in the major leagues, he's able to get reps to show that he can get better and turn the page. Because as I said on our weekly recap this week on Patreon, Kobe Mayo's ceiling represents the missing piece of this lineup, which is an impact bat from the right side. The Orioles don't have that right now. They don't have someone with that kind of power. Mayo at his best is that, but he has to be able to develop to become that player, and that's going to require giving him a lot of reps. And while you're struggling, maybe one of the silver linings is you can get him in there more often.
I'd love to see the team have the balls to just demote or lower Mountcastle in the lineup, bench him more often. God, he has been so bad. Like, can we he has an option. Let him get it figured out in the minor leagues, please.
I've heard 2 different podcasts this week highlight Ryan Mountcastle as a trade target, and I swear to God, just give me a cheeseburger, and I will take this deal already. But to hear like multiple other podcasts discuss, Ryan Mountcastle could be an option. You know, I'm like, please, you guys have no idea what you're getting into, but please take him for the love of God.
His big RBI single in Sunday's game, I think it was a routine ground ball to second base like he always hits, but they were playing him up the middle, so it got through. So it's like, woohoo, good job.
And on that pleasant note, we'll now head into our final segment of the show, Last Call, brought to you by Checker Spot Brewing, located at 1421 Ridgely Street. Checker Spot is near Oriole Park at Camden Yards, making it the perfect place for a pre- or post-game drink. And with the Orioles out of town this week, it's also a good place to go watch the games while they're on the road. So be sure to check them out. And when the Birds come back in town, you can find Checker Spot behind home plate at Camden Yards, where one of their signature beers, the Bird is a Word, is available this season. And for our last call segment in this episode, we're going to go with our usual routine of highlighting players who have finished outside the top 30 portion of our top 50 prospects list for something they've done recently, whether it's been a good game, a good week, or just something interesting we want to note in their stat line. And I'm going to start with Bob because he's got a picture that I know we wanted to make sure we highlighted before this episode ended.
Yeah, I'll start with my hitter just to get him out of the way, and then we can all talk about the pitcher a little bit. Hitter for me is going to be, I don't know if it's Luis Guevara, 19 years old, from Venezuela, was signed in January 2023. He's had some pretty consistently good DSL seasons in his first 2 seasons. In 2023 at a 135 WRC plus. He repeated the level last year, had a 118 WRC plus. Well, Edwin Amparo got, we have 2 Amparos. I was trying to remember which one it was. Edwin Amparo got a little bit banged up. They needed someone from the complex. And it was pretty telling to me that Guevara was the guy that got pulled up. They deemed him ready. Whatever he was doing down there must have caught their attention. And it's translated pretty well over his first 33 plate appearances. He's batting .320 with an .812 OPS, 146 WRC plus. Walk rate, 15.2%. Actually, the lowest strikeout rate of his career at 12.1%. Not hitting for any power to date, like a 62, 45, and now a 40 ISO. So that's not really part of his game at this point. But again, he's 19 until next February. But yeah, he steals bases. He stole 16 in 2023, 20 in 2024, and he's already got 2 so far this season in a week and a half of games. So just wanted to shout him out as a little international prospect on the come up. And then, yeah, the pitcher is Cohen Aiken, the 14th round draft pick out of last year's draft, signed for $25,000 out of Lindsey Wilson College, who, he's 23 years old, but he starts the season in low A, 3 games there, 14 innings pitched, 3.21 ERA with a 26% strikeout rate, gets promoted up to high A and has 1 start there, 1.80 ERA over 5 innings, and then immediately is promoted to double A, which at the time I didn't know if it was just a paper move, like he wasn't even going to pitch for double A, but they needed to shuffle things around. But no, he started and he went 4 1/3 innings and he pitched really well. Gave up 3 hits, a walk with 4 strikeouts, only gave up 1 run. So I don't know what you guys make of Cohen Aiken. Is he just in double A now, or is this was like, hey, we need a starter? We trust that he could get some guys out and then he can go continue his development in Aberdeen. I'm not sure, but liking what I'm seeing from this kid so far.
before we hopped on and we talked about Aiken there for a second, I looked at Aberdeen's roster, and when you look at their roster, everyone's hurt, like at every level. So I don't really know what other option could have went to Double A to help replace Alex Pham when he went on the IL. Maybe like sending Riley Cooper up. We know he can eat a couple of innings, but like there's no like starter who I feel like, yeah, you've earned this promotion. It's time to move you up. I mean, Trey Gibson, Nestor Herman, I think have a valid argument, but yeah, I have a tough time with that one too. I have thoughts about Aiken. I might save a couple of them for the top 50 update, but it was an interesting move, and I could see him going back down to high A if the Bay Sox can get some healthy arms back in the next week or two. But if he has a second outing like his first one, why go back? There's no reason to go back. Like I said, let's be aggressive with these guys. And even if you're like, oh, we got to go somebody, hey, can you do this? Maybe he's going to open up some eyes and take advantage of this opportunity.
It's funny. I've seen Angel Tejada's name pop up on the pitcher box score a few times for Aberdeen.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know if it's going to be a lasting promotion or not, but one, he is having a really good year. He earned that promotion to Aberdeen. I do think that was, performance and experience based. And the other thing is that I watched his outing against Hartford on Saturday. What impressed me was that the slider in the first inning, he was locating it, but it was getting hit around a little bit. The deeper he got into the outing, the more effective it became. Hitters were swinging and missing at it. When they were making contact, the contact was getting weaker. He does a good job of moving his fastball around. So there's not that one plus pitch that really jumps out at you, but he seems to have a decent arsenal that he locates well. So that's a good foundation.
I can go to mine now. I'm going to go down to the FCL since they just started. They've only played 2 games, but why not? I just want to keep throwing this name out there as often as we can right now until he proves me wrong. Andrew Tess, 12th round pick last year, Florida high school ranks. I'm just getting this feeling about Tess. He's a bigger kid. He doesn't look like a guy they just drafted out of high school when you see some of the limited video clips, but I think he's going to become a really interesting prospect in this system. They drafted him as a catcher. We'll see how much he plays behind the plate in FCL this year. We'll see what he does defensively, but he's picked up 3 singles and a walk in his first 2 FCL games. Just stash the name away. I think Andrew Tess is going to be a guy who I am becoming more and more gravitated to as I look down there. And then for my pitcher, I don't know if we highlighted him recently or not, but I'll do it again because he had a good week. Asel Correa, 22-year-old arm down in Delmarva. He came over from Cuba in 2023, and he was actually stuck. I went back and looked, and to make sure, I thought I remember hearing something about this after the Orioles signed him, but he was stuck in the Dominican for a couple of years after he got out of Cuba and wasn't able to sign with anyone. I'm not going to speculate as to why, but he couldn't sign for a while. The Orioles were able to get him, and he's had like a decent year in the DSL. Was okay last year. He's repeating Delmarva, and yeah, he's 22, but spoiler, I bumped him up into the top 50, and I think he cracked the very back end of our brand new top 50 list. 8 innings last week, 0 earned runs. He did walk 5 guys, but he struck out 9. And on the year, 24 innings, he has 27 strikeouts, 10 walks. So half of his walks came just last week, but a 2.55 ERA. Yeah, we'll see. I know when they signed him, I know the report was low 90s fastball, curveball, changeup, and he didn't get a very big signing bonus. But we'll see if he gets to Aberdeen in the next couple of weeks. Then obviously that's a good sign.
I'll start with my hitter, and this is a guy that was routinely on our top 50 list for a while before dropping off after an injury-plagued 2024. Braylon Tavera. Now, I will just throw this out there as the pronunciation. It is spelled like Braylon, and in fact, I had heard Braylon after he signed, and for the first couple of years he was in pro ball. More recently, though, on some broadcasts, I have heard it pronounced Braylon. So if anyone with the answer could clarify that for us, that would be great. But Tavera had a really good series at Fayetteville last week. In 5 games, he belted 3 home runs while walking 6 times and striking out 7. When you look at Tavera's stat line this year, what's clear is we're seeing a lot more power, and like he has in the past, he's drawing a decent walk rate. Still striking out way too much. It's north of 36% right now. But for a guy that was hurt for a lot of last year and not particularly good at the plate when he was healthy, this has been a really nice turnaround story, not to mention that he's still just 20 years old. So plenty of time for him to develop, and he's getting off to a solid start this year. And then I'm going to go down to the FCL for my pitcher, Jesus Palacios. In Saturday's opener, Palacios pitched 4 innings against the Pirates, giving up 1 unearned run on 1 hit with 9 strikeouts to 2 walks. And to give a little bit of background on him, he was signed by the Orioles out of Venezuela as part of the 2022 international free agent class and would pitch the next 2 summers at the Dominican Summer League before going to the FCL last year. He struggled last year, owing no small part to a high ERA and a high walk rate. But one thing that we saw in the Dominican Summer League was that after a rough first season, he went back there the following year and improved significantly. If he's going to do that in 2024 in the FCL, or 2025, in the FCL, Saturday's start is a very good sign of things to come. And for a little bit more on him and on the FCL team, I would encourage you to go check out our Substack, because Nick wrote a pretty good piece about them that just came out this morning.
Yeah, I'm so excited for the FCL. Not that we can watch, but I honestly think at least half the FCL team is going to be in Delmarva before midway through the full season ball is up, and it's going to make Delmarva that much more fun to watch and better. And there's so many good prospects in the FCL this season.
And with that, that does it for our show this week. We'll be back later in the week with another round of questions from our mailbag. In the meantime, you can check us out on our many social media channels, including Facebook, Instagram, Threads, X, TikTok, YouTube, and Twitch. We're also over at Substack, OriolesOnTheVerge.substack.com. And while you're browsing around the internet, be sure to head over to Patreon and sign up to become a member of our community. You will get access to patron-exclusive channels in our Discord, as well as weekly bonus shows from Bob, Nick, and myself, and monthly updates to our top 50, the first of which is dropping this week. For Bob Phelan and Nick Stevens, this is Zach Smedden. You've been listening to Orioles on the Verge, part of the Believe Podcast Network.
Running a business can be exhausting. Building your website shouldn't be. With Wix, you can express your ideas, give direction, then leave the heavy lifting to AI. From site creation to branded content and images. Have fun with the details. Customize what you want the way you want, and manage your whole business from a centralized dashboard with expert AI tools. Build, scale, and enjoy the incredible results. You can do it all yourself on Wix.